you know. Hmm. Does anyone have a question? We all have inside us such a great resource of energy, that's connected to God, higher energy, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And it's just a superabundance of knowledge and wisdom, uh, practicality, the ability to make choices, and to function here on a much higher or conscious level. And all of that energy is available to each and every one of us. It gets down to a simple reality. It's our job to build an inner life that's capable of receiving that energy, where the chakra system's open, we're grounded inside, we live in a more conscious way, our life is simpler, more conscious. And we allow that energy, that knowledge, that wisdom, which is part of, you know, cosmic awareness, it just nurtures a human being and it really can guide their life. So it's no longer this kind of, mind that we have that guides us and tells us what to do. It is constantly creating more tension than anybody really needs to have. But it's spirit. It happens because we live in a state of surrender. We live in a state of openness. And by that, I mean we have built inside ourselves a system that enables spirit, Shakti, higher energy to flow through us, to nurture us, to develop us, to get us stronger, to build us inside, and at the same time to guide us, through all these different tributaries of life. I mean, it's essential. Maybe once a day I'll read the media, the news, just to see what's going on. And it's a world that's so insane, so complicated, so difficult. It gets back to just the reality of everybody living according to their own ego, their own rightness, what they think is right or wrong in life, how the world should function and work, their power, their success, amount of money they make, et cetera, et cetera. And this is what controls the mentality of human beings. And you have basically 8 billion people living in an insane asylum. And yet, on the other side of all this insanity is this beautiful place we live, glorious place that we live, and a place that manifests as a person opens inside and allows themselves to be guided by higher energy instead of their minds and their emotions and ego and all the things that basically make most people function today. They have no training, they have no inner development, and this mind never stops ticking. It never stops creating scenarios for us. that we follow, and we follow it. And usually there's a lot of conflict and dysfunction and disharmony and a lot of stuff that really makes people crazy. Our job is to get free of all that. Our job is to build an inner life that truly gives us the power not to be controlled by one's own mind, by one's own emotions, by all the dysfunction that goes on inside, the neurosis, the anxiety that goes on inside a human being. Basically, the biggest imprisonment is the imprisonment that we create for ourselves. Much worse, than Sing Sing and Alcatraz and all these other places. What people create for themselves is an imprisonment that determines how they live their lives. And what does it amount to? Living with your heart open. That's really what it amounts to. Living with love, living with happiness, living with an open heart. Building a system inside that enables one to do this, because this doesn't just happen. What just happens is all the craziness in the world. This other thing is hidden, on the other side of just a herd of demons that runs rampant inside people. So our job, our work here is to get free of ourselves. Forget racial stuff and religious stuff and all that's all nonsense, What's real is getting free of oneself. If you get free of yourself, you'll never have a problem with racial equality and stuff like that. Religious equality. You will have the capacity to deal with it. And yes, it runs rampant in the world, and it's controlled by a bunch of people that, they're a bunch of dictatorial characters, that don't think anything other than what's on the surface of life. But if a person builds a chakra system inside and develops it, doesn't matter what goes on in the room. Doesn't matter what other people think. Doesn't matter what, people say and do and all the bullshit that goes on and that comes out of people's mouths. The thing that matters is we're strong enough to be connected to God and to be able to use that energy to build a system inside that can detach from all the nonsense that goes on in the world. We're all human. Doesn't matter what religion, what race, we're all just human beings, And every human being is up against themselves. It's amazing. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? It's wonderful to be a human being. It really is. Patience, to do creative things in the world. And to recognize, as I say all the time, look, everything around us is a manifestation of higher energy. We are a manifestation of higher energy, each and every one of us. That makes everything sacred. Everything. William Blake, in one of his poems, everything that lives is holy, said in one of his poems. It's such a profound statement, because it's true. All that's missing is our consciousness. We don't see it. We just live in a world where everything is sacred, everything is holy, everything is one's teacher, and the only person who doesn't see it is us. I mean, it's extraordinary. And yet, if you build an inner life that enables you to eventually to be able to not only see this, but to embrace it, open to it, let it be your teacher, let it be a thing that guides you, the sacredness of life. Does anyone have a question? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to live in some, ivory tower, you know, thinking that I'm the only one who sees this. Impossible. Every one of you has to be able to begin, at least begin to see this kind of thing. We are all sacred. Everything that manifests around us is a reflection of us. It's all sacred. It has to be treated that way. We're talking about India. When I used to go to India a lot, and I had a lot of Muslim people that I did business with. I became very friendly with them. Especially in Mumbai, I had many Muslim friends, and I would go to their homes. I'll never forget. It was extraordinary. A very good friend of mine in Mumbai, his family invited me. They wanted to meet me, and they invited me to their home for a brunch. And there must have been 25 people there. And I walked into the living room of the apartment where they lived. And there were 5 men in there that all looked like Osama bin Laden. They had the headdress, the hair, the head, the hats and the beards and all the clothing that they wore. And I started to chuckle. I said, here I am, a Jewish guy from the Bronx, in the midst of all this. Well, the incredible thing that happened is in the Muslim religion, a guest is God. A guest has to be treated like God. This is something people in the United States really need to learn. A guest is God. And the treatment was so extraordinary. All of these people that were dressed in what do you teach? How do you do this? What goes on in your spiritual practice? I did healing work with the daughter of, the family that owned this apartment. And in 2 sessions, it got rid of something that all the doctors in Mumbai couldn't find a cure for. They all wanted to know, what do you do? What? And it brought tears to my eyes. Then we sat down to have, this brunch and this big plate in this table. Everybody ate from the plate with their hands. And the women were putting the best pieces of everything in front of me. Yeah, have this. This is really this. And I was so deeply touched and moved by this whole concept of a guest being God. Everything we see every day of our lives is a manifestation of God. It has to be bowed to. It has to be treated with respect and dignity. And we have to find a way to embrace it and to love it and let it be our teacher. I mean, I was so complete. I mean, what an education that was. I tell you, I'll never forget it. It was extraordinary. And it taught me about my own prejudices, my own limitations, and how you got to stop having preconceptions and open and let life teach you. Let life teach you how to be a human being, how to treat people with respect and dignity. People that are guests are in part of your life. They are a reflection of God. They're there to teach you something. I remember sitting with Rudy, I'll never forget this, and this beggar woman walked into his gallery, and she was like a bag lady, living on the streets of Manhattan. And he got up, he was so kind to her, and he treated her with so much dignity and so much love. I mean, it was an amazing thing to see. And then he said to me, Stuart, God has thousands of faces. You never know how God is going to manifest in front of you. You never know. And I went, wow, I have a lot of growing to do in my life, a lot changing. But experiences like that are so invaluable and they're so extraordinary. But God has thousands of faces. You never know how God is going to manifest in your life. And you have to be kind and embrace and learn and defer to people and listen to them and let them be and, not judge them because of appearance, because of their sexual preferences, their religious preferences, whatever race they are. It's all surface, can't be judged. One has to just open and learn. Does anyone have a question they would like to? Okay, there'll be meditation on Wednesday evening. Thank you. God bless you all. And you are my teacher. I come here every 7 times a week here to learn how I have to grow. So God bless you all and thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all on Wednesday.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.